when you fuck with a kid's psyche at that young of an age, you're screwing up their mental development. And I firmly believe that, forcing any type of religion onto a child under the age of 14, that should be considered abuse.
Yes.
I'm fucking sick of seeing the indoctrination that these Christian groups are doing to kids. They're not only rotting their brains, they're abusing them mentally, and they're forcing these children to hate themselves. And once they become an adult, they have all this pent up hate for themselves that they're forming mental disability or mental illnesses from that. I'm an actual victim of that. It's disgusting and it should be stopped. So your question of, is it going to be better before it gets worse? I think it's going to be worse and then get even more worse. It's just going to spiral down into this victim shaming type spiral of hate. It's just, you allow this to happen, in 20 years from now, you're going to start seeing adults coming out with really fucked up psyches. And that's how you create things like ISIS or Daesh. That's how you create Westboro Baptist. That's how you create the people who go in and shoot up Planned Parenthood. That's what that type of thing creates. It creates hatred. It creates violence. It creates insecurity, and it shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah. Okay, so Doug, as a veteran, you've fought to give all of us our rights, and one of those basic rights is the First Amendment, which is the Establishment Clause, which specifically talks about not having government give any specific endorsement of religion. Yet nowadays, it seems like that's what the government is doing. And I mean, doesn't that kind of go against what you and every other veteran has actually fought for in this country?
Well, I don't know. We took an oath that stated we would defend the Constitution. And the Constitution states that we have freedom of religion, speech, press, all that shit. Right to bear arms. I mean, you went through a long list of those a while back. And honestly, I think it infringes on pretty much everything that this country was founded upon, as we were supposed to be a melting pot that didn't infringe upon religious beliefs at all. A good portion of us believe that you should be able to believe what you want to believe, simply because that is what we fought for. And I'm one of those people that really doesn't give a damn what you think, what you believe in. It's not my concern. My concern is if you're the guy that's going to walk into a mall and start shooting people.
Mm. Yeah, and unfortunately, it looks like we're starting to have that.
Well, yeah, but the fact that religion is starting to get more involved in government affairs, and they're starting to push it, the real problem is that religion has always had a part of government affairs. I mean, think back, years back, when this country was first found. The women weren't allowed to vote. The blacks were not allowed to vote. The poor were not allowed to vote. It was only the rich white citizens of the country that were allowed to vote.
Kind of seems where we're going now, right?
It does. And our government is pushing for this to be allowed simply due to the fact that they can get their way without having any kind of interference. Shit, that does sound like kind of normal, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's status quo, it seems like. I mean, we're giving tax breaks to an ARC in Kentucky. Billions of dollars, millions of dollars of tax breaks to an ARC exhibit in Kentucky that has just basically destroyed the community because they spent all that money and nothing is coming from it. I think we're going to start seeing more of this, though. I honestly think. I mean, because when we look at the incident here in Arizona, where one of our representatives, who happens to be a humanist, atheist, gave a secular prayer and was chastised and run to ground and everything, and then a couple of days later, a preacher from a Methodist church came in and gave a secular prayer without invoking a higher power at all, and nobody said a word because he was dressed as a preacher. Part of me thinks that these legislators are actually using this to energize a base, because I don't think that all of them actually believe that and are that dedicated to it, especially if you hear them talk off camera. But
right.
I think that we're going to continue to see this kind of stuff, where we're going to see more and more religious organizations that are now going to be able to push or continue to push their legislation. Like here in Arizona, we have Center for Arizona Policy that pushes some of the craziest religious-based bills, and most of them make it through because they own the legislature. And I think they just passed one. Was it North Carolina? The transgender. What is it? HB 1111.
Yeah, yeah. Awful.
I mean, we're starting to see all these different types of bills popping up around the country. Well, they have been popping up forever, but now they're moving through. And all I can think of is that I really hope that our courts, that whole what do they call that part of the Constitution? Checks and balances. Is actually effective, and that we don't end up having to be, I worry about the day when, because I don't believe in Jesus Christ, I'm no longer a citizen, and I get, like stoned or thrown out of the planet or whatever. Now, a lot of this other, a lot of these religious things have not only have to do with, and I think that the group that you were talking about, Robert, is probably the Good News Club, which goes into elementary schools. And of course tries to bring these kids in by, we have activities and we have snacks and blah, blah, blah. And of course, kids in elementary school, they all love snacks. I mean, you can talk about, Pink Floyd, The Wall, and they don't care as long as they have snacks. But I think the problem is that they're, and we've seen instances out here. We had a friend in Gilbert whose son was approached at the bus stop by somebody handing out Christian flyers, specifically for like Good News Club or something along those lines, which, is a big red flag for her, because she doesn't want strangers walking up to her kids at a bus stop where they're supposed to be, trying to get to school and stuff like that, and kind of intimidating them into taking these flyers. And then we had another lady that we know that the school actually put the flyer in her kid's backpack for a Christian day. Unfortunately for the school, they didn't realize that the kid was the son of a secular coalition lobbyist who went to task with them really fast. But the thing is that you're not going to see this kind of stuff in the media. You don't see these kind of things in the media. So I guess that's the next route we should talk about is how can we bring awareness to the masses that, people of religion are not under attack, and people of religion are not being bullied and discriminated against. It's the people that they disagree with. It's a flip thing. So let's go first with Doug. How do you think we should reach out to these people and get them to understand that we can all live here together regardless of what we believe?
Good luck on that one.
Well, it was worth a shot. It was worth a shot. I figured we could at least try to get an answer on that one. So you don't think that there's really a possibility of it, or should we just give up on that now?
No, just give up on it now, because if you think about it, look at every religion. Every one of them tries to push you into being part of their religion. No matter what you believe, they always try to force it upon you. And one of the biggest groups that I've noticed that does that is the Christian group. They always try to push it. well, God is the greatest thing in the world. I don't give a damn. I don't believe in God, and I'm not going to start.
Thank you.
And I'm told how bad that is, because there's supposed to be a higher power. Well, maybe there is a higher power, but I don't believe it's a man flying in the clouds.
It's called the sun.
Well, and do you need it as a moral compass? I mean, I haven't had God since I was 9. I haven't believed in God since I was 9.
It's because you missed the house party last week. Okay.
But I mean, seriously, if people are like, "Oh, I need to believe in something bigger than myself," I don't know. How about fucking science?
Well, I mean, it's all based on perspective,
and that's tangible. That's something you can actually see, feel.
It's tangible if you actually understand it. Okay, if you're a knuckle dragger from Kentucky that's been listening to Christian stuff all through school and hasn't gone to and been homeschooled, you don't understand science. You don't understand the scientific method. You don't
even understand that the sun comes up for every night or every morning, and that all of a sudden it gets dark and the moon comes up. You don't even understand that rudimentary.
Sure, they understand that the sun, the Earth, everything revolves around the Earth. Okay, everybody knows that. So let's go to Robert. Robert. So when we're talking about, one of the biggest problems, especially in schools, because we were talking earlier about abusing kids, is how students who are not joining in with the Christian ideals or prayer meetings or classes or whatnot are bullied and made fun of to the point where, we have them committing suicide. We have people that are having to move their family to another school district. I mean, and it's not just, people that don't have specific faith. We have a huge problem with transgender people committing suicide and or being just killed because of being who they are. And the same with anybody in the LGBT community. Depending on where you go, there is so much harassment and bullying and just aggravated just assault, basically, whether it's verbal or physical. And a lot of that isn't because of anything other than the media push of religion. And why, religion says that this is wrong. Well, yeah, religion says that if you're divorced, you're supposed to get stoned. I don't see you guys doing that. So how do we try to, number one, prevent the bullying aspect for the LGBT community, the people that don't have kind of faith in religion and stuff like that? I mean, is there like a hope where we can actually try to find a way to breach that? I'm asking the tough questions today.
You're not right. Under 45's administration, you're not going to see any type of privileges given to people outside of the Judeo-Christian values. And to kind of give you insight on the mentality of children growing up in these type of environments, from a very young age, I knew I was homosexual, and I was put into Catholic school. And I went to Catholic school for about 5 years. I was the biggest bully in my class. I was always fighting people. I picked on the gay kid in class. We did have he obviously wasn't out, but he was very feminine. And I would always say mean things to him. And since then, I wrote him a letter not too long ago and apologized for all of it because, remembering back, I feel like such a shitty person for doing what I did, even though, it was like 4th grade. Like there's, kids will be kids, but at the same time, being inside of a Catholic school as a homosexual who originally didn't believe in God, I went to public school for kindergarten, and I remember reading the science books that we had, and, I had an epiphany of, what happens if this planet doesn't exist? What about if this planet doesn't exist? And I got all the way to Earth, and I thought about it, I'm like, well, what if Earth didn't exist? And I was like, well, I wouldn't exist. I was like, what would that be like? And, it was just it was just a void, it was nothingness, but it made me feel happy because